these guys from a podcast called This Podcast is Making Me Thursday Want to Talk to You. And I think and I said, you don't have to tell me what it's about. I said, if it's called This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, you definitely don't need to tell me what it's about. And I'm going on. This is what I want to do.
It's a Seinfeld podcast. It's called This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty. But I thought, this is what a podcast should be.
I just did the Seinfeld guys pod the other day. It came up.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Oh,
that one. Shout out. We've done it. I've done it. Have you did it?
I've not gotten a chance to do it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
It's so fun. They're so fun.
When I don't know, it must have shown up in my feed, but I see these guys tweeting about Seinfeld. I'm like, oh, what's this? And I find it's a podcast called This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty.
One of the most popular Seinfeld podcasts is This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, co-hosted by Chris O'Hara and Tony Chulo.
Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is 2 Up and 2 Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
All right, welcome back, Thirsty fans. And today we are doing The Gum from Season 7. And Chris, why don't you give us a little background into the episode and your first up?
Yeah, The Gum, of course, December 14th of 1995. Fun year. Gamble and Prost, of course. 31.4 million people tuned into this. What else was on the night? Why did so many people watch it? I'll tell you why. There was a Sinatra special on ABC. Okay. CBS had Tony's favorite show one of his favorite shows of all time, Murder, She Wrote. We all love that. I'm sure there were some Seinfeld alums on there. And then Fox, of course, Fox always threw New York undercover against Seinfeld. So here we go. 2 ups, folks, 2 positives of the show, and 2 negatives. Sometimes hard to do on great shows, and even some of the clunkers, hard to find ups. We do this on the fly. We don't share notes. So here we go, folks. All right. You know what? I'm gonna go the opening scene. It's kind of a long opening scene, but it reintroduces a character, but it does it in an interesting way. They reintroduced Lloyd Braun, right, with the gum and everything, but it's a new Lloyd Braun. So give Lloyd credit here, okay? Matt McCoy. Not easy to step into a role where we've already had someone in an incredible way in the non-fat yogurt. So McCoy came in, especially on that first scene, and delivered, but Kramer really delivered on that first scene, right? Why go to a fine restaurant when you could stick something in the microwave? So obviously him talking about the Alex Theater and everything, and he came in so, I don't know, Kramer just really brought it, especially in that first scene. And we could probably talk Kramer throughout, but I'm just sticking with the first scene here. Just his whole New York vibe, getting involved, $7 for a ticket, whatever it was, and George questioning that. And then obviously, when you stick something in the microwave, and why go to the park and fly a kite when you just pop a pill? Great Kramer stuff. And then obviously he talks about Lloyd, and Lloyd's going to help him get this because of his contacts in the government, Great stuff. And then Lloyd obviously comes in with the gum. So that first scene, pretty long, right? A lot going on at Monk's, but great way to establish the show. I don't know. You think I'm excited? It's going to be an A+, but we'll get there when we get there. And I usually like a great first scene for establishing things. I think Gamble and Prost did a good job here.
Yeah, terrific scene there. So definitely worthy of up. And of course, shout out to Matt McCoy playing Lloyd, who we had a great interview with. And you could check out our interview with the other Lloyd and find out why he wasn't available.
Mark Hirschfeld had called and said, we're bringing your character back. Can you get down here? And I said, of course I can. Yeah, great, wonderful. And hung up the phone thinking that, oh, sure, Castle Rock, NBC wouldn't have any problem getting any foreigner a visa for a show that they had done previously, that only they can do it, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought, that's exciting. I'm going to do this thing. And then I thought, out of abundance of caution, I'm going to give my immigration lawyer that I had worked with a call and see what the deal was. So I called this guy and he says, oh, yeah, it's no problem. You have to do this, this, and this. And I said, yeah, that's all together. And you need 2 weeks processing time. And I said, oh, well, I'm sure they can expedite that. He said, oh, no, they can't expedite that. That's just the way it works. You can't do anything about that. So I start to sweat profusely, and I start, scurrying around for the paperwork that I know I have. And then this lawyer that I had for this immigration work calls me back and says, I just got a call from the Seinfeld production company looking for advice on how to get you down to the United States to do the second episode of Seinfeld. And I said, oh, and he said, well, I had to tell them the same thing, that there's certain rules and regulations around the INS that they need 2-week processing time, and 2 weeks is expedited. And I just said, oh, this can't be happening. It can't be happening. And so they were incredibly gracious. Mark said, I will call you on the morning that we're auditioning for this part, because we got to do it in 2 weeks. Because they, episodic TV, they never work that far in advance, right? They just, it goes week by week, and then 2 weeks ahead of time, or whatever the time was. I did not have the 2-week processing time. And so I was just scrambling. I was faxing the Prime Minister of Canada. I did everything I possibly could to get down there. And at the end of the day, I couldn't do it. It just couldn't be done. And
so that's definitely something you could find on our YouTube channel. But Tony, over to you. What do you got for your first up?
Yeah, just to be clear, what the up was the first scene, the up was Kramer. You gave a lot there, or just trying to
I pulled a Tony, folks. I went a lot there.
Yeah, exactly. You did one of mine. That's what I'm saying. The approach was different than how I was looking at it. So, because I had Kramer too as a big up, all the stuff you mentioned. So I was going to put
first
that to the
scene.
side,
I only did the first scene of Kramer.
I understand, but I think you covered a lot there. I loved it. I agree. I think Kramer's a big up.
There was a lot in that first scene. Was my point. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. I thought the flying the kite thing, great. Locating the gum, unbelievable. My first up, though, I'm going to go a little bit less big, a little more subtle. Although I think, all those people out there that say, we poo-poo later seasons and yada, 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 pun intended. Listen, I'll give a bone to all that right now, and I'm going to give my up. I hear everyone screaming at the computer right now that I should do it. So we'll do it off the bat. Ruthie Cohen. I mean, come on. She's been in the background. She's there. She's hanging out. You see her all the time. She's, everyone wants to know her name. We finally find out her name. I mean, this is pre-internet, so we weren't looking up her name. Looking at the credits, maybe. We all figured it out. But here we go. Even George, we get a nice little chunk of Ruthie Cohen, just George's nemesis there. Played it well. Hell of a woman, always in the background. The story she must have, if only. Loved Ruthie Cohen. I like how she needled George with very few words. Didn't have to, right? Let George take all that over himself. But I thought giving Ruthie Cohen a bone here. I don't know if LD had a say in that or not, or what. This is his last season. Maybe he thought to himself, let's get Ruthie Cohen into the mix. Who knows? But easy one up for me, and I think a lot of the even pink hats will agree with that one. You got to love Ruthie Cohen for a big thumbs up.
That was one of my first ups, was the Ruthie Cohen storyline with this. So, and she got to, she had a few lines in it. So, yeah, I thought that was great stuff. So, yeah, definitely an up. So, Chris, back to you. What's your second up?
Interesting. I didn't think he was going to go there, but I thought he was. Well, you know what? I'm going to go the one I thought he was going to go. The scene, Kramer, Jerry, and Lloyd Braun on the couch in Jerry's apartment. I don't want to call it an all-time scene, but Jerry with the glasses going down, read the paper, they come in, and this is what the holidays are all about, right? 3 buddies sitting around chewing gum. I mean, it didn't go too far. I think they kept it tight. I'll give Ackerman credit there. We rarely talk about Ackerman, but I think in that scene, I'm not saying this episode, believe me, there's some stuff we'll touch on, but I think Ackerman did a nice tight job of making that succinct and making it quick and funny. And that's all you can ask for when you're watching a TV show that's a half hour. So 3 guys sitting around holidays, great line. I think a well-deserved thumbs up as well.
Yeah, good scene there. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that one. So Tony, over to you. What's your second up?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that literally down exactly how he said it, the chewing gum stuff. I was going to go there. You went Kramer early. I wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit. I know you used the first scene. I was going to use it next. All-timer. It's up there, especially for a season 7, I'll say. Maybe not, as he said, all-timer. But listen, I don't really have much else. Kramer's first scene that he mentioned was a big one for me, and the one he just mentioned with the chewing gum was a big one. The rest of this stuff, we'll get there, but I don't have a lot of ups per se. I'm not going to use Larry David cameo. I just did Ruthie Cohen. I do like seeing Larry David with a line, though. He doesn't often get lines. We do see him a lot, but not going to be my up. Maybe I ruined it. Who knows? He already gave us 2 ups, so I'm good with it, I think. I guess I'll do this. I mean, we didn't really use it. He touched on in the apartment. He touched on Kramer at the beginning. So I'll just have to go with perfectly sane food to eat. I mean, if you're going to say Lloyd Braun, especially Lloyd Braun 2, perfectly sane food to eat, Kramer chewing that hot dog. I mean, the visuals of that thing is unbelievable. Love to talk to the guy who made that prop. I mean, Kramer just takes that bite. He gets all excited as if he's getting like a nice. The way he pulls that off is unbelievable. Takes the bite, like as soon as he hears the guy say, "You got to be insane to eat this," Kramer runs over. "Give me one hot dog." That guy's just like, what are we doing here? I mean, perfectly sane food to eat is just an all-time line if you want to go there as well. So I think Michael Richards really nailed that scene. You give Michael Richards a prop like that, he's gonna hit it out of the park every time, and he does. So that's my second up, the perfectly sane food to eat over there at the Alex Theater.
Yeah, that was an amazing scene. So yeah, terrific. Definitely worthy of an up. So Chris, back to you. We're going to do the downs. What's your first one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Kramer had a lot of kind of ups, like first scene, and then him giving Elaine and Jerry the tour. It was almost like him doing the Central Park, like, oh, this is the Alex Theater. And like they were kind of like, you could tell they were smiling at him. And then the one you mentioned, like, there's just a lot of, I didn't want to take Kramer as a full, but just because he has so many kind of moments in this show. And then there's some moments that didn't really hit. And you know what? I'm going to flip the switch on you here. You like the Ruthie Cohen stuff. I didn't. Ruthie Cohen
I figured that
belongs at the register as what she did. Like throwing her a bone. And quite frankly, I thought she did a terrible job acting, you know. Like I know they threw a bone, and I'm a little tough here. Tony's laughing. And then Ruthie Cohen on a horse. I mean, what are we doing? Ruthie Cohen on a horse? Come on. Like, to think I was starting to like the episode, then I see that. And then, so, that's it. Ruthie, why ruin a good thing? I didn't need to know Ruthie. I liked her as the mysterious cashier. There's a little cachet to that. Yes, Tony said she brought a million swords. She would have been incredible to talk to. Yeah, all that said, that's great. I don't need her being a central part of this episode. So, for me, love Ruthie Cohen, 125 other episodes, but I'm going to give her a down in this one.
I totally. I disagree, but your point is fine, and we get it. But it was one thing if we saw that every episode, of Ruthie Cohen, something, of her doing something outside of the cafe, but or Monks. But I think it all worked here. So I agree with Tony that was an up.
Here's what I'll say. Okay, Joe DiMaggio always said there might be a kid out there who never saw me play. There might be a kid out there who never watched an episode of Seinfeld. And you're going to throw me Ruthie Cohen?
Jesus, all the time to DiMaggio. That was a terrible. Had nothing to do with anything. For Ruthie
all right, so
Cohen,
we can agree to disagree on the Ruthie Cohen
shoes. She gets her time to shine. Everyone wants to hear her talk.
All right, so she's an up, she's a down. So,
I mean, he's got to poo everything. I'm giving the pig hats a bone here with Ruthie Cohen. Bad actor.
All right, well, that's his down. So, all right, Tony, back to you. What's your first down?
Yeah, listen, this he hit on the net at the beginning of his thing with Kramer. I mean, this was a Kramer episode. After that, I mean, Kramer and Lloyd Braun. I mean, everything else we're gonna start to, let's not get too high on ourselves here. I did love the IPM PCW. Always get a kick out of that one. Kramer puts an acronym on the thing when no one knows what the hell he's saying. Institute for Preservation of Motion Picture Costume and Wardrobe. Unbelievable. But listen, my first down, and maybe it's going to be too big or too broad. I hope not broad. I guess I'm underlining here. Elaine, I mean, come on. This is her whole thing. She's nothing else in this episode except the top stuff. Button off here, wet shirt there. Not complaining too much, but at the same time, it's like, come on. She's got to have a storyline of some sort. It's walking back and forth on the sidewalk. Nothing. I mean, she brought nothing to the table but that. And for Julia to do that, I don't know. I'm gonna think she didn't love it. Maybe she did. Maybe thought it was funny gag stuff. I don't know. Could have been a ratings thing, as I like to say. Maybe they used that in the promos. I don't know, the wet shirt and everything else. But listen, for me, it's cheap and it twice. All right, fine. Now it's just her thing in the episode. It would have been kind of funny once, and then give her something else with Lloyd Braun maybe later on. I didn't like the same running joke. I never do, especially in a 30-minute, 22-minute sitcom. I don't think you need to kind of redo these jokes all the time. Come up with something new each time and give it to me. So for that, with the button missing, the ivory button, I know that Har picks it up later on, Har would. But nothing. Give me nothing in this one, Elaine. So that's my first down.
Yeah, you're right. Her storyline is super thin, if there's any storyline. So yeah, I would take that as a down. So, Chris, back to you. What's your second down?
Yeah, I mean, can't argue that. And since you went big, I guess we'll go big as well. I think George got a really bad. I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, first off, and again, the Pink Hat tribute guys, George delivering Christmas presents. I know we didn't know about Festivus yet, but obviously, knowing what we know now, I guess we can critique that to some capacity. And then the yelling just. Pop! Pop! And then him meeting Pop's daughter in the park. What are we doing? What are we doing? Pop's daughter, Dena, she kind of reminded me of George's cousin to some degree. Like these later seasons, things just get mixed and matched, and dumb scene. Oh, I see the warning signs, and I don't know. It felt very just forced. And then that led into Ruthie Cohen with the horse, of course. You guys love that scene. And then, the LeBaron on fire. And then forget at the end, George in the outfit running after Pop's daughter, Deanna, in the ridiculous costume. Like, hold on here. Like, he owes Kramer a favor for what? Like, oh, you can use my car when you want it. He hasn't used it yet. This all happened within the same day. I feel like they were trying to pull back the bris when the guy fell on George's car, and then he's going back to Deanna and asking her to pay for it. Pop should pay for it. It's just, I don't know if that was callback in their mind. I felt like they were trying to do that. Long story short, a bad episode for George. He had some sort of a storyline, I suppose, versus your Elaine. This is just poor execution, I would say, on George's part. So it's a big down, similar to Lane, but what happens when those two are downs, we got problems.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. So Tony, over to you. What's your second down?
Yeah, I mean, that was my next one, and I was going to do the same thing, make it broad. I shouldn't have done it with Elaine because now, either way, I mean, those are my two big. I mean, like he's just said, it's Elaine and George are hard. I mean, George is worse because there's more of it. And to O'Hara's point, that he actually had a storyline, and it was terrible. I mean, the screaming, the institute, all that. I just. It's so bad. And I gave Ruthie Cohen an up because I kind of liked her, but even George Ruthie Cohen was ridiculous, screaming at the horse stuff was dumb. I understand that, but I don't blame Ruthie for that. But I don't really have anything else. I'm kind of pulling this one out because you brought it up sort of, and I did write it down as kind of a down. I'm going to pull from that everything you just said about George. I'm going to take it a step further and say Dena and Pop even really, but I'll just do Dena. I didn't like Dena too much. I love to have her on the program. She reminded me, she reminded me. Maybe she's her. That's why. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is she the same one from Seinfeld's van, or is it a different chick? Okay, because they remind me of each other.
No, that's the
And
cousin. I just
that's
said
the cousin. Yeah, yeah. You said that too. Yeah, she reminds you of that, doesn't she?
They're different
Very,
people. Yeah.
yeah, but they remind me of each other. I don't know why. And both I don't really love, to be honest with you. But Dena, enough is enough. Like, just what is her interest in Georgia? You look at high school to kind of do that whole thing with Pop, like you said. I mean, they tried to tie way too much stuff together here. I just feel like they had two good stories with Lloyd Braun, Kramer, and Jerry. And then they kind of just had to cram George and Elaine in, and it did not work. And for those reasons, as O'Hara mentioned, we have I got a big down with Dena. I'll piggyback off his George down too, just for the hell of it. But that's my big down is Dena and Pop. So there you go.
All right, folks, that's the ups and the downs. So, Chris, why don't you give us your grade and final thoughts on the gum?
Yeah, the gum. I have one grade, but Tony's. This is a tough one because historically, as you know, the two we mentioned can bring down an episode significantly. Now, I'm not as super down on Elaine. I think it was just no storyline. I don't think she, like her on the phone or the stupid little kicks, like she didn't do anything that completely would make it like way down level, if you feel me on that one. Maybe the shirt and all that helped. I don't know. But anyway, and I like Mr. Harborwood, finding a little button, that was okay at the end there, I guess. And another fascinating thing you mentioned, Lloyd Braun, great. But what's interesting is like it was a Lloyd Braun, like there was no Lloyd Braun George interaction at all. Like those two are nemesises, and yet there was nothing like except for the beginning scene, just quick. But it became like a Jerry Lloyd Braun kind of nemesis type deal, like. The stupid glasses, $100 bill, cheap laugh, fine. I gave you 100. Like a lot of whiny Jerry, a lot of yelling George. So it was it was actually just an interesting episode, just to like take a step back and see how these characters are interacting with each other. And obviously Elaine dated him. So Elaine dated him. George was growing up like antagonist with him. And then they kind of just were on the side. It was more just Jerry, Kramer, and Lloyd. It was kind of weird. But maybe it worked. Maybe it didn't. Kramer carried the episode. I think Lloyd, number 2, came in and was really strong. Like I said, it's a tough job to do. Mr. Harwood. You can't not love that guy. I don't care what you say. Right? I rip Ruthie Cohen. I'm never ripping this guy. All right? He's just a special guy. I got a grade here. One grade, I'm going to stick with it. And the gum, like a lot of episodes, you hear the title of the episode, you're like, what shit? What was that? What happened in there? You know what happened in this episode? Is that change? Is that making the grade? I don't know. Maybe C- for the gum is my grade.
All right, yeah, thank you, Chris. So, Tony, over to you. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, you listen. I didn't know where he was going with that. I wrote down like 3 grades, and they're all in that range he just mentioned. This is a tough episode, like he said, for all those reasons. I mean, I agree. I mean, Elaine wasn't terrible. I mean, like you said, yeah. Listen, I know how he feels about this one. I have 3 grades written down, very similar. It's just one of those. Elaine's not terrible. Like, I get it. It just didn't give us anything. George was terrible. Loved Braun, horror, what he mentioned. I liked Ruthie Cohen. You got an LD cameo. I mean, like you said, you hear the gum. You're thinking of the scene when they're sitting there chewing the gum. You're thinking of the hot dog, perfectly sane food to eat. Those make you laugh, and then you picture George running down the street in the costume, and you're like, "Oh shit, that's right, I forgot." It's like one of those things, or smashing up the fucking LeBaron. So all that said, I'm not far off from him. I'm pretty much. I don't know. I thought when he was talking, I thought he was going to be higher than me, giving it a better grade. he actually swaying me. I mean, I might be higher than him. I'm thinking here. I don't want to give. I could give the same grade. I see where he's going with it. I think Lloyd Braun. I think Kramer. If you just stick to all that stuff, the whole theater stuff, and the gum stuff, but Jerry with the box, Jerry with the glasses, you're laughing. So I don't think George's going to pull it all the way down to what I'm saying here for a season 7. I'm going to go just a little higher. Which is funny because I really thought he was going to be higher than me, but I can't go lower than him on this. I'd C range for sure. And that's what I'm giving it. I'm giving the gum season 7 Gamel Pros a clean C, low C, but clean. A clean low C. That's what, for the gum.
All right, there you go. You guys seem to be in agreement there, but for different ups and downs. But you came around to a C and C minus. So thank you guys, and that wraps up our 2 ups, 2 downs for the gum. And hope you guys tune in for our next episode. Thank you.